Hello everyone. Again, we are going to continue the remaining part of the chapter Agriculture for 10th class. And this is Vinayak going to discuss with you for the remaining part. So, now as we studied about various types of crops which are grown in our country, and we discussed many more things regarding agriculture. Now, what are the technology and institutional reforms? Here, institutional reforms means what were the changes which have come in the country after so many years of agriculture. So now we shall see what were the reforms. Agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years. Sustained uses of land without compatible techno-institutional changes have hindered the pace of agricultural development, because as we know, two-thirds of our population, we are having agriculture as the main occupation. So here there was not much changes in the past. So even though we have been practicing since thousands of years, so much changes had not come till 20th century. Now we have lot of reforms and changes. Why India not improved in technical and institutional reforms in agriculture? In spite of development of sources of irrigation, most of the farmers in large parts of the country still depend upon monsoon and natural fertility in order to carry on their agriculture. See here, still there are many places in our country where the water doesn't reach. Whatever irrigational facilities have been given, so many dams have been constructed, but still there are few regions where it is not reachable. So there the farmers are again depending on the natural resources like monsoon and natural fertility for agriculture. Agriculture needs serious technical and institutional reforms. We need here technical needs means what is that needs, like latest machinery using the technology by which they can save a lot of time and money, as well as labor. Physical labor will be reduced. And then institutional reforms, here they have to guide the farmers, the scientists, for example agricultural scientists, they have to guide by regarding the soil, regarding the fertility, regarding the monsoon, regarding many other factors like soil fertility. How they are telling the soil fertility? There are labs where soil is tested, and then as per the report of the soil testing, the government is guiding the farmers how much fertilizers they have to use, how much insecticides or pesticides must be sprayed. All these things they are guiding. So many programs are coming up from the government part. So in the past, collectivization, consolidation of holdings, cooperation and abolition of zamindari, etc., were given priority to bring reform in the country after independence. Because before independence, there were lot of things like consolidation of holding, means holding the lands by consolidating, by bringing them together. And then even zamindari system, rich landlords used to hold hundreds and thousands of acres of land, which was not good for the farmers. So all these changes have come. Now, land focus was the main focus for the first 5-year plan. You know what is 5-year plan? after independence, because we had to develop very fastly. So India was in a very poor condition after we got independence. So the government had planned 5-year plans, and these 5-year plans were introduced in USSR. USSR means part of that, that is USSR was disintegrated in the 1990s, 80s and 90s, and then they became smaller countries, and Russia is the main country there, and they used to follow these 5-year plans, and India took the suggestions and advice, and India also started 5-year plans. Right of inheritance had led to fragmentation of land holdings. Right of inheritance means here the family holding of the land, like father to son, son to son again. In that way, generations they were holding the land, and as we discussed in the previous part also, during inheritance, even the land also reduced because of the multiplication of the family members. Then land laws of land reforms were enacted, but laws of implementation were lacking. Even all the laws were changed for land reforms, and but implementation was very slow. So what were the steps taken by the government in agricultural reforms? So what are the changes that government brought to change the agricultural systems? Government of India embarked upon introducing agriculture reforms to improve Indian agriculture in the 1960s and 70s. Green revolution based on use of package technology, and white revolution, that is Operation Flood, were some of the strategies initiated to improve Indian agriculture. So, green revolution, that is bringing people, that is all the farmers were given all the assistance by providing them fertilizers in their own districts nearby their villages, and as and when whatever required, like HYV seeds and other things, and all the support was given by the government to make maximum output or production in agriculture. So that was given in such a way that the government had subsidized all the prices of the fertilizers. They gave it, and they made all the fertilizers, chemicals, and whatever were the requirements, they were made available in their own districts, by which on time they can take it and spray and then use it for their crops. The same way, white revolution, this is also again regarding milk production. Milk production, all the cattle who were, the people who were rearing cattle, cows and buffaloes, by which lot of milk was produced, and then the milk was collected from the collection centers in the nearby villages. The farmer need not go much far away to deliver the production. It was collected in the collection center, and then they were sent to the bigger milk units. But this led to the concentration of development in few selected areas. But this was done only in few selected areas. Therefore, in the 1980s and 1990s, a comprehensive land development program was initiated, which included both institutional and technical reforms. So, again, they had to bring some more initiation, which included technical and institutional reforms. Provision for crop insurance against calamities. So here calamities means what? The disasters or any untoward or unexpected things, like for example floods, for example droughts. Floods means all heavy rainfall and floods come, and all the crops get damaged. The same way, drought. If there is no rain for continuously for 1 or 2 years, then it leads to drought. So these are all natural calamities. Establishment of, so for that, government started providing insurance for the crops. If such thing, anything happens, insurance can be claimed. And establishment of Grameen banks. Banks were providing lot of support to the farmers. In the villages itself, Grameen banks were opened. From there, the farmers can avail loans, or they can deposit their money, and as and when required they can utilize the services of the banks. And cooperative societies also were formed, where cooperative societies were supporting by providing them HYV seeds and other requirements during the crop season. And these societies and bank also, they were providing loan facilities to the farmer at lower rates of interest were some of the steps taken. Other steps were Kisan Credit Card, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme, are some other schemes introduced by Government of India for the benefit of farmers. So even these were facilitated by the government. Credit cards were given so that they can utilize the money in the form of loan, which they have to repay again in a very small rate of interest. Moreover, special weather bulletins and agricultural programs for farmers were introduced on the radio and television. So in the radio and television, there were separate programs which were meant for only for the farmers, where every day when we see the news, we see the weather report. And the same way, there is a different kind of weather report given to the farmers, by which they can plan their season, they can plan their sowing of seeds or plowing or the harvesting. Everything depends on the weather conditions, and also how to utilize the services of these agricultural programs. They were given many demonstrations and other facilities by which the farmer can learn how to do farming, and then any new systems or technology or programs, they were being useful for the farmers. The government also announces minimum support price, remunerative and procurement price for important crop to check the exploitation of farmers by speculators and middlemen. Here speculators and middlemen means the people who are like doing for brokerage. So what they do, they buy the goods from the farmers for very low cost, and then they take it to the markets and sell it at a higher price, and the margin money or the profitability is taken away by these speculators and middlemen. So to stop this, what the government has done, you are going to study this again in you studied in ninth class economics. What is minimum support price, MSP? This is when the farmer sows the crop, when they sow the seeds, the government will announce a MSP, minimum support price. That is, if the farmer after harvesting, if the farmer is not able to sell his production with a good price, he can sell it to the government for the price fixed by the government, that is the minimum support price. The reason is here the farmer cannot store the goods for longer time because they are all perishable goods. So he has to depend on the market. If the market is not good, prices are not good, so he can sell it, give it to the government and take the minimum support price. So government will ensure and give guarantee by giving a fixed minimum support price, by which the least and the lowest price what at least government can give a support to the farmer. And in the past we saw, as we were discussing about the zamindari system, because many of the landlords were holding lands right from before independence. Thousands of acres were under only one family, or zamindari system was going on. So after during this late when we got independence, at that time Mahatma Gandhi had declared Vinoba Bhave. He is one of a great leader. He was a social reformer as his spiritual heir. That is, Mahatma Gandhi said, after me Vinoba Bhave is my spiritual heir. He also participated in Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. He supported Gandhiji's concept of Grama Swarajya. After Gandhiji died, Vinoba Bhave undertook Padayatra. He walked to all the villages to spread this message throughout the country. Once when he was in Andhra Pradesh, some landless farmers demanded land for their economic well-being. He assured them to talk to the Indian government for provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. So Sri Ramchandra Reddy stood up and offered 80 acres of land to 80 landless farmers. This was known as Bhudan. Bhu means land. Dan means giving it as a gift or kind. So Bhudan. So later he introduced his idea throughout India, and this started from Andhra Pradesh. Presently that village is in outskirts of Hyderabad, that is in the Rangareddy district, uh, and also some villages come under Nalgonda district. Yes, Nalgonda district, where they call it as Bhudan Ramchandra Reddy village, where this program was happened. Some zamindars offered to distribute villages among the landless. This was known as Gramdan. Even villages were distributed like that. However, many landowners chose to provide some part of their land to the poor farmers due to the fear of Land Ceiling Act. See, in the late 1960s, there came a law in the constitution that Land Ceiling Act was introduced. What do you mean by Land Ceiling Act? The families or a single person who owns more than say thousands of acres or more than 400 acres, that land was seized by the government and taken over under the government's control. So this rule was called as Land Ceiling Act. So what the zamindars used to do, they used to uh, gift that land to their other family members or their servants, their workers who were working. They used to transfer that names of those land ownership. They used to transfer to the other people so that they can protect their land. This Bhudan Gramdan movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave was also known as bloodless revolution. Bloodless revolution. Then contribution of agriculture to national economy. How we are contributing. Employment and output. Agriculture has been backbone to Indian economy through its share in the gross domestic product GDP has registered a declining trend from 1951. In 2010 and 11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector. As we discussed in the previous module also, that 52.1% people are depending on the agricultural sector. Declining the share of agriculture in GDP is the matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to the decline in other spheres of economy, having wider implication for the society. So establishment of Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, it's a very big organization which is helping out the farmers, and in the agricultural sector even we have lot of agricultural universities. Veterinary sciences means study about the animals. Services, animal breeding centers, horticulture development. Horticulture means growing of vegetables and fruits, and research and development in the field of meteorology. The meteorology means it's the study of the climate and weather forecast, etc., were given priority for Indian agriculture. So these are the graphs given even in your textbook also. What was the changes in the GDP? Though GDP rate is increasing over the years, it is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. The reason is here generally all traditional families, the farmers, what they do, even though as we discussed about the inheritance part, all the land is inherited to 2 3 generations, and there will be the members will be multiplied, and the volume of the land will decrease for each farmer. So with this what happens, family members will be more, land they own will be lesser with the work percentage. They cannot, because they have work but not that much required, not all the family members can associate with that work. So what happens, this goes for more of disguised unemployment. You studied in ninth class in the economics what is disguised unemployment. Means a work of 4 people in the farm, in the land what they require, but the family consists of suppose 8 members. So all 8 members are working in that agricultural field. So actually the work is for only 4 people. So there won't be any change in the production increase if 8 members are working or 4 members are working. There is no change. So what does this mean? Instead of 4, 8 people are working to the same piece of land. So what happens? The 4 people are extra here. So they do not know, but they are unemployed. So this is called as disguised unemployment. So growth in agriculture ID decelerating. Indian farmers are facing a big challenge for international competition, and our government is going ahead with reduction in the public investment in agriculture. Subsidy on fertilizers is decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. So all these are the problems faced by the uh, agricultural farmers. Reduction on in import duties on agricultural products have proved harmful to agriculture in the country, because even though there are now MNCs have come, they are importing lot of food grains and other things, food products which can be grown here, but they are importing from foreign, and the government has reduced the import duties. So cost, there will be lot of much difference in the cost. So from outside they might bring it in cheaper prices, so our demand will reduce. So all these must be checked. Farmers are withdrawing their investment from agriculture, causing a downfall in the employment in agriculture. So now slowly people are reducing, farmers children are not doing farming, they are going to the towns and the cities, and they want to get educated and choose a new occupation. But in future it will be dangerous for us. How? So if all are working, who will feed us, who will give us the food, who will grow the food grains, food security. What is food security system? In ninth class again you studied about PDS and all other things. In order to ensure availability of food to all sections of society, the government can carefully design national food security system. It consists of two components: buffer stock. You know, the extra stock they have to store, buffer stock, and public distribution system, PDS. PDS means nothing like ration systems. Civil Supplies Department will supply that. PDS is a program which provides food grains and other essential commodities at subsidized prices in rural and urban areas. For suppose now at this situation we are facing lot of problem. So poor people, the government is supporting by giving 2 rupees kg rice, 3 rupees kg rice. All this is the PDS system program only, where why they are giving in so low price? It is subsidized food price. Why they are, the government wants to keep buffer stock in the food FCI godowns, Food Corporation of India godowns in all the districts. The reason is, if any emergency comes, any calamities like floods, drought, war, or any health issues, or any pandemics, epidemics. Now like corona pandemic we are seeing what happened now, because we are into lockdown for almost 2 months and more also. So at this time poor people, they need food grains to survive. So at this time the buffer stock is taken out and given to the civil supplies to send it to the poor people across the country. The policy is to ensure food grains to common people at affordable price. The policy focuses on growth in agriculture production and on fixing the support price for procurement of wheat and rice to maintain the stock. As I told you, they have to maintain the stock. So who will do this? Food Corporation of India procures, they buy in by paying the minimum support price to the farmers, and they stock in the food grains, whereas distribution is ensured by the PDS. So all these are again, it's a what do we say, recap from the ninth class economics. That is how food grains are procured, what are the disadvantages and advantages in this method. See, let us read once. FCI procures food grains from the farmers at MSP, minimum support price. The government used to provide subsidies on agricultural inputs like fertilizers, water, but these have not now reached sustainable levels and have also led to the large scale inefficiencies in the use of these scarce inputs. Excessive use of water and fertilizers have led to waterlogging, salinity, and depletion of micronutrients in the soil. Means, in short, we can say losing of soil fertility because of using more water, fertilizers, etc. The high MSP subsidizes the input and committed FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. So, these purchases are compulsory and distorted to cropping pattern. Wheat and paddy crops grow in Punjab and Haryana are for the MSP they get, which have created serious imbalance in the intercrop parities. So there is a lot, people say that there is a lot of change in the pricing of MSP and the market price also. How are consumers divided? What are its drawbacks and disadvantages? Consumers are divided into below poverty line (BPL) and above poverty line (APL). So that is either middle class or the poor people. However, this categorization is not perfect, as number of deserving poor are excluded from BPL category and some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL. That is, even though financially they are good, their standard of living is good, but they go for the BPL ration cards and they want to take all the advantages by taking all the facilities given to the BPL. But really, some of the poor people, some of the below poverty line people, they are not getting all these facilities what the government is giving because of failure of one crop, and it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shifts. How can we become self-sufficient? Self-sufficiency can be attained if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, credit linkage, and also encourages the use of latest techniques. Use of latest techniques means the scientists have to help them how to use, how to, what to grow, at what time, during which weather conditions, what are the water conditions, soil fertility, and everything. The government has to give support to the farmers for increasing their production, and latest techniques like usage of tractors, usage of many agricultural tools. And one I would like to share today, in the world for agricultural sector, and the best agricultural implements or tools or techniques or technology, Israel is the country which is world's number one country. And you know, in the world map, if you see Israel, it is smaller than one of our states in the country also. Such a small country, but it is the number one in agricultural sector in the world. So India has to learn from such countries, and instead of concentrating only on wheat or rice, the food crop with a bigger growth potential in the particular area must be encouraged. Not only growing the regular traditional crops, they can even try for some other better crops also. Creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc., and also attract private investment in agriculture. So electricity is needed for the water purposes, like motors are needed to for the supply of water into the fields or the crops. The focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and free trade in grains will create massive employment and reduce poverty in the rural areas. What do you mean by sustainable basis? Here, sustainable means for the coming generation, we need to protect the resources. So, in that way, we need to increase the food grain production and give lot of employment to the rural areas in agriculture. Future of Indians food security. Shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oil seeds and industrial crops. This has led to reduction of net sown area under cereals and pulses. So people have, many farmers are trying to shift for commercial farming or cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oil seeds, because they may get more profit in that, they may get more income. But this has reduced the net sown area of cereals and pulses. Competition for land between non-agricultural uses and agriculture has reduced the net sown. See here, why it has reduced net sown area? Because of the rapid development. So during that time, what happens? As the towns, villages, we start from villages. As the villages, towns, cities, because of the development, they have started expanding themselves. So once a village expands, it starts expanding. So where they have to develop? They have to go to the outskirts of the boundaries of the villages or the towns. So where they are developing, again they have to acquire some of the agricultural land. The same way towns are expanding, cities are expanding. So for the construction of roads, buildings and colonies or whatever, so what they are doing, they are acquiring all the agricultural land and they stop doing agriculture there and they start constructing buildings there. So what happens? This is reducing our net zone areas. So this agricultural land is getting converted to non-agricultural uses. Productivity of land is declining due to fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides. So because of high usage of these fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides is spoiling the soil natural fertility of the soil. So with this what happens? For long run it won't work. There won't be any sustainability. So now, okay, thank God now people have started understanding the situations and no doubt products are very expensive, but now some of the pockets in agricultural fields, many people are doing organic farming where they are not using all these pesticides or fertilizers and they are using only natural fertilizers like cow dung and other things. So such produce is good for health, good for sustainability, but they are more expensive. But those who can afford, they can buy. Those who cannot afford, they won't be buying it. Scarcity of water has led to reduction of area under irrigation, whereas inefficient water management has led to waterlogging and salinity. So, scarcity of water, dry lands are there, dry areas are there, lot of thousands of acres of land has scarcity of water. So they are not able to grow even a one single crop in a year also. They have to depend on the monsoon or the climate itself. So this has to be done. And even wrong management of water also led to water logging. More of water is going and stagnated in some of the areas. So this is about the production of food grains and why they remain stagnant for all 5 years. You will see all this in your textbook. See the picture here how the land is wasted. It has become a dry land which doesn't have proper irrigation or water facility. So like this thousands of acres of land are dry with water scarcity. So impact of globalization. What was the impact of globalization? In the 19th century, when European traders came to Indian spices were exported to different countries in the world and farmers were encouraged to grow these crops even today it is one of the important export item for India. As we discussed right from ancient times, India was a big market for spices. So lot of people from western side they used to come to buy textiles and spices from our country. During the British period, cotton belts of India attracted the British and eventually cotton was exported to Britain as a raw material for their textile industries in the late 18th century. The Champaran movement you studied in previous classes in the history, why it was started in 1917 in Bihar, became the farmers of that region were forced to grow indigo. Indigo, what is it? It is the Neil, blue color. Your mothers use it for washing clothes. Like nowadays, we are getting Robin Blue, Rani Pal or something like that. So this is nothing but it consists of indigo, and this indigo is used in the textile industries. After the production of the cloth, they need to wash it with the indigo. So why the farmers were reluctant during the forcing of the British to grow indigo? Because once they grow indigo, it loses the fertility of the soil. They cannot grow any other crop once they grow indigo. For that reason, the farmers were reluctant. At that time, the British was forcing the farmers to grow indigo for their requirement as raw material. Under globalization, particularly after 1990, Indian farmers have been exposed to new challenges despite India being an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute and spices. Our agricultural products are not able to compete with the developed countries due to their high subsidized agriculture in those countries. So there will be lot of change in the pricing systems, because in other countries subsidized prices are more for the agriculture. So to make agriculture successful and profitable, proper thrust should be given to the improvement of condition of marginal and small farmers. The Green Revolution promised much, but it is being allegedly that it caused land degradation. The keyword today is gene revolution, which includes genetic engineering. In fact, organic farming is much vogue today because it is practiced without factory made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. Hence, it does not affect environment in negative manner. As we discussed just previously, I had told you regarding organic farming. It is a now it is developing, but maybe the cost factor is more for it. Production will be less for that because they are not using any chemicals or fertilizers. So cost will be more for those products. So hoping that in future we get in a lesser price. Indian farmers have a bleak future if they continue growing food grains on the holdings that grow smaller and smaller as the population rises. Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to high value crops. This will increase income and reduce environmental degradation simultaneously. India's diverse climate can be harnessed to grow a wide range of high value crops. So now you need to go through your textbook and mark the key points and read the chapter thoroughly, and then go for your preparation of notes and other works. Thank you.